to approve the minutes.
Yep.
Second?
I'll second.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, same sign, motion carried. Okay, Hurdsfield project updates. Well, I guess I need to open mic. Gary, do you have anything?
No, I don't.
Anybody else in the room have anything before we get started here? Okay, we'll just move into Hurdsfield project. Thomas, do you have any updates with that?
No new updates. Conductance levels look good. The most recent sample was taken on the 3rd, so last Thursday, so results should be coming in soon.
Okay.
But yeah, the lab results.
Yeah, okay. Alrighty. Do you want to give a quick rundown on what's been going on?
I guess I just turned them on the 22nd, turned them off again yesterday, so.
Well, conductance levels are back up again.
So it was back up, once the rainwater's gone, which is what happens, so.
Okay. Okay. We have been working on trying to get an emergency permit to just pump the rest of the summer with that. And we've got some documentation, we got some more pictures. There's a lot of water coming in from the southwest, if I understand, down there. We got some pictures. I sent those to you this morning, Cal.
And now it's really starting to come in from the west. Hurdsfield is, the sewer right outside of Hurdsfield is really flowing over. So
Okay.
that's gonna start going over into West Lake, and then so that's really gonna start pushing it down.
Okay, okay. Thomas, do you remember the level of that top of that vault? Is it 1840.5 at the pump station? I think that's what it is, isn't it?
Something close to that. I can't remember off the top of my head.
Okay, okay. I think the question that we need to ask the state is, you know, we're not supposed to be pumping or, you know, letting water go into Hurdsfield Lake, unless we're below a certain level, but, you know, I think we're just slightly above that level. I don't remember. Do you remember what that level was, like 1837? Can you look that up real quick?
I'll look it up quick.
Okay.
How long did you pump, Brian?
What's that?
How long did you pump?
22nd till yesterday, so it,
22nd of June?
yeah.
Yesterday, not long then.
No,
Long, but
I'm assuming you had the pumps running at full speed.
yeah,
Yeah. What'd the levels go up to?
yeah. What's that?
What'd they go up to?
I didn't look yesterday, I looked the day before, we were getting up, we were shade over 450. I mean, I don't know what that equates to the conductance, but when I.
The EC level was
Yeah,
450.
Yeah.
Well, actually, we could keep going then, because it's like roughly a 3-to-1 ratio.
I gotta look again. I just
Okay.
I thought, Thomas, isn't it, if either one is over 450, we gotta stop, correct?
No, the monitoring station number 2 can be up to 750.
Okay.
And that's the actual sulfate levels, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so we need to times whatever EC level we have, times roughly 3.
Can you look it up where it's at today now, Thomas?
Yes, I just looked it up. Monitoring station number 2 was at about 1900 for conductance, which would be from past results, closer to 650 for sulfate levels, milligrams per liter.
Where are we at on EC levels on station 1?
Approximately 1500, so it's right at that,
level.
close to that limit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, we're okay on 1, but not not on the other. Okay. What did you find for that?
The elevations,
Yeah,
so I think it's right on that 1836 to 37.
okay, and I think we're just slightly over 37, I believe.
So can I open that gate coming into East Lake, or where do we sitting with that?
Technically, no, but
No?
we're gonna
It's
have
at
to
18,
do
it looks like it's at, yeah, when East Lake is less than, elevation 1837.0.
Okay,
And it can be opened
okay. That's good.
per the operations plan.
Yeah. Now, it would have to be about 3.5 feet from the top of the vault, correct?
I can look that up too with the elevations.
I have that in my packet here somewhere. Well, you can go ahead and look that up. We'll just continue moving on here. That's pretty much all we have for updates for the Hurdsfield project, correct? Nobody has anything else? Okay. 55th Avenue Crossing. We have that appeal that's coming up. Kale, did you get any farther than what we talked about yesterday?
No updates other than I just talked briefly with Brian Schmidt. The notice of appeal is going to be filed next week. And so that'll be filed and then that will set the briefing schedule. So,
Okay. Okay. Actually meeting with the board of directors on this water association on Thursday morning. We're gonna have a discussion about this as well in Devil's Lake. Okay, Harvey Dam Inspection update. We've got a bid here for, from Mark Freed for going in and doing the cleanup and all that. Would he be willing to, you know, fix the fence and stuff in there too?
I asked him that and he said no,
Okay,
he doesn't think he has the ability to do that or the equipment to do that.
okay, okay.
So just clean up the trees and stuff like we talked
Yep.
about in that area.
Yep. And this, would this be from both sides of the highway then?
No, just.
Just the
just
dam
the
area?
dam side, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Cause I noticed there's a few growing on the other side as well. on
Yeah,
there.
it's, that wouldn't be different.
Was that,
Wouldn't that be more the highway department's responsibility or the city?
we're stuck with it.
We're stuck with it?
Yeah.
Okay.
There, I think a guy could just, you know, they're small, they're saplings, I think a guy could just spray those. But on the water side, we're not allowed to do that. So,
I could ask him if he's willing to look at the other side and do more,
just spray it,
just spray them,
yeah.
if you want me to.
For now, does somebody wanna make a motion to approve this bid for cleaning up the rest, stuff that's there?
I'll make a motion.
Is there a second?
It's just the trees.
Yep.
That was,
Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second.
Okay, any further discussion on that? Any further discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
This is Kevin Freed, right? Not Mark.
do they work together or not?
It's just Kevin and whoever he has got hired. But-
Okay, Mark doesn't do it anymore then,
No.
okay,
I know.
okay. Culvert inspections. We obviously, we have not done that because, obviously it's been too wet for that. So, we'll just leave that on the agenda for next meeting as well. The Sauter complaint, we're gonna deal with that here at 7:30.
He's gonna try to call in about 7:15. He's at the airport, so he's gonna call in about 7:15.
Oh, okay. Jeff was gonna come in at 7:30 as well. So, okay, well, we'll move into the Schafer and Lease non-compliant drainage complaint then. I'm assuming that's why you guys are here? Okay. Do you wanna just come up to the table here real quick, so everybody can hear you? As you know, Jeff Schafer filed a complaint with, the water and, running the wrong direction. It's, originally the tile permit said that it was supposed to go straight across the highway. But, I was working with Wyatt Hanson out of Devil's Lake, and I talked to, Eric about that last fall. He talked to you guys about that.
In December, yes, and we've been waiting to hear back.
Okay, yeah, like I told Eric then, we can shape that, kind of like, let's just say kind of like a berm.
Yeah.
But, it needs to be, relatively flat, so if somebody goes off and goes across,
Do we need a right-of-way permit for it then?
yes, we will, we'll have you fill out one for that.
Okay.
And
We'll do
Tammy can give you the form for that, it's just a one-page form. In fact, if they want to fill that out,
Can we get a copy of the complaint too, just so we have it for our records?
yeah, it's just a one-page, form, mileage post, number, do you know what that is, roughly where that's at?
It's 13 or 14, but I'm not 100% on
Okay, I think that'd be pretty close, well, let's see, your
Just on the
place
other
is
side.
12 miles out, right?
that. I don't know off the top of my head. I'm 11 from 281, so that'd make it 13.
Yeah, that'd be pretty close. So you'll need the, mileage post number on there, and, let's see, just going off of memory. And the type of work that you're gonna do, basically, I don't know how the world is gonna,
Do they have any spec or anything that do that? So we're not pissing them off. The hybrid,
yeah, right. Basically what Wyatt told me is that you just need to, make it so it's relatively smooth or gentle, and, I don't know how that's gonna work. Do you know what the elevation is of the culvert to the tile pump?
How much it drops into,
Yeah,
I don't know, you don't know the tile pump. It would have been surveyed when they cleaned out the drain. It would have been 10 years ago, right? They lowered that. When they cleaned out laterally,
okay,
and so
okay.
you would have, record what's the elevation of that culvert, but I don't know. Dad, if you know the elevation.
I do not, it does drop down into the ditch, so.
Okay.
I don't know, it's 10 feet.
And if you don't have to, make a berm to make it water run, just to trench it out, that'd be better yet.
We tried that, just a little bit. But it's so
Originally,
flat.
from the beginning.
Okay,
The
so it
ditch
doesn't
is-
wanna run to there then.
Well, it does run, it just,
It spreads out across the ditch,
Mhm.
right across the highway ditch.
Yeah. Okay, so you'll have to just add some dirt to it, and
Yeah,
that'll work.
well, like I said, it's been wet.
That's gonna be the problem.
we had
Yeah.
30 inches last year.
Yeah.
And it hasn't
Yeah.
quit,
Yep, I realize that,
so.
yeah. So, hopefully one of these days the tile pump's shut off for a while,
Yeah.
but,
Would that satisfy the complaint if we were able to get that in?
yeah, I don't see why it won't, yeah,
And we
Yep.
fully intend to do it, we just
Yep.
haven't had any opportunity.
Yep.
year.
Yeah, you know, ever since last fall, it's been wet, so,
Awesome.
yeah,
Wasn't the
Yeah.
pump's been put in?
right, so, you have a track skid steer or anything like that?
Just got one.
Just, okay, that would help.
Yeah.
So, you're probably gonna have to haul some dirt in, just dump it off the side of the road.
Yeah.
Yeah, cause he said that'd be allowable to do that, and,
And how wide is that river spec for it? Like,
you know, he didn't give me anything, as far as that, and basically what he told me is just make it so it's, you know, if somebody goes off the road and they drive over the top of it, it's not like they're gonna gouge into the ditch or whatever. So, I guess if you wanted to call Wyatt, up at Devil's Lake, he's the district engineer for this area.
You have another number.
I don't think I have the number in my phone for the office up there.
Devil's Lake?
Yeah, if you look that up real quick and just give it to him. Actually, I do have it. It's 665-5114. And, other than that, I guess that's the biggest complaint is the water, going in opposite direction.
And again, we got a notch when we first did it that fall, we didn't realize it was gonna be as big an issue.
Mhm.
Too late to do anything.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
full attention, but I had no idea that there was a big.
Yeah, I don't want to intrude, but El Sauter's on the phone now. So whenever you're ready, I'm ready to listen.
Okay, we're just waiting for Jeff Mertz to get here as well. He said 7:30, because that's the original time we talked about, so. But yeah,
Okay.
as soon as he gets here, we'll jump into that right away. Let's see, you gave him the form?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, is that pretty self-explanatory to you?
Well, I think so. We can call you if we need
Yeah.
help, right?
Yep, you got my number.
Yep.
So, yeah, just give me a call. So
Sure.
yeah, the mileage post, the type of work that we're gonna do, just, put in the explanation of, just gonna build a berm to make sure the water goes across the road. And,
Can we bring that back here, or can we just mail it directly around?
they'll just bring it back to here.
You can
And,
email it if you want.
I could,
I'll figure it out.
Technology, you can drop it off.
I'm sorry.
I was looking at Alex.
But, then as far as the, tile pump on the other side of the road, what's your intentions with that? Will
Well,
you try and get it fixed?
Yeah.
Yeah, last summer, when we first saw it starting to happen, we put that pieces of tile just out there, and
Mhm.
so it shoot way off and move those rubber mats. And, again, it should take full of water. But we gotta get some dirt and fill that wash out there.
Yeah, I
We
was,
didn't think it appeared that it was hold water back, so that's what we're overly concerned about.
I've been trying to work with Wyatt Hanson, to get some ideas on how we can, fix these things so we don't have these issues with it, do something different
Are we the
between
only-
him and Derek Ellingson.
Are we the only ones?
No, there's more and more showing up all the time. It seems like, where the problem is the worst is where we got those steep drop-offs. And I talked to Derek about, okay, maybe those mats need to be larger to handle the volume of water and come down into the ditch.
Well, I thought of like a pipe, take a, tile
I've thought
pipe, get
about
it down
that
to the
too, but
bottom,
they're
right?
kinda sticklers about, having something in their right of way.
Oh,
They want it to run into the right of way, but I mentioned to them that, that's getting to be a problem with erosion. It's like, okay, would you rather drive over a piece of plastic pipe and break that? Or do you want ruts in the road?
Yeah.
So, and he was gonna visit with, originally he told me, I don't remember when, last winter I think is when I talked to him the first time about this, that he said that he was gonna talk to the guys in Bismarck, so.
And then we just put that pipe out and laid the mats right at the ditch. I don't think we're having any erosion with that.
Mhm. my idea, you know, to have it so it goes out farther instead of just dumping it and running down.
Yeah,
So,
and once it starts, it doesn't quit, right?
yeah,
Once
it
starts
just gets
washing
worse,
it,
yeah.
That washed very quickly for us, once we saw it.
Oh, yeah.
Before we could do
Yep.
it.
Yeah,
It
Yeah,
doesn't
don't take
happen
long.
in, you know, December when we got time, it happens in May.
right,
Yeah.
right. So, okay, well, thank you for coming in.
Are we good then?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
We'll try and
yeah, we'll
get
just
it
get
filled
that
out.
taken care of. We'll approve that, you know, permit. We send it on to the state, or she'll email it to the district in Devil's Lake. They'll sign off on it as well as we will, and that'll be the end of it. All right, thank you. Okay, Jeff still isn't here, but, Al, how much time do you have?
Well, I'm waiting, I would say 45 minutes from now.
Okay, we'll just wait.
I'm
until-
working today, I'm flying today, so.
Oh, okay, alrighty. Well, we're gonna move into old business, or new business then. Channel A clean out in Oak Creek. Neil, Bean had talked to me about that last fall. He went in and surveyed it, and there's a lot that needs to be taken out of that. And, I went over and checked that here a few weeks ago as well. And it's definitely is holding water up back there. And then we also got over on a clean out on section 22, in, Germantown, as well, cause there's, water backing up in there. So, I guess is there a motion to approve those cleanouts?
Can I get a legal description for that channel A, the spot exactly?
It would be in section 35 and 36 of Fairville Township.
This is scraper?
No, it's excavator work. Even last fall is, you know, with it being somewhat dry, there was just no way, it was way too soft. And, in this clean out on section 22, let's see here, gotta go back to Germantown for that.
So you can pile everything up on the side?
On these drains?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Have a haul off in the way.
no. Section 22, I don't know if that, I guess I'll ask you this, Alex or Richard, water that comes, you know where the towel pumps are that come from Kirkhides and then it goes across yours of Selly's, is there any places that you've noticed that are getting held up in there?
Not that I've looked at too hard. It looks like
Okay.
some like in front of culverts and after culverts.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he's talking about the other lateral.
This is to the north.
Yeah, the one that would come from Mass, right?
Yeah, the main channel, yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen it like, you know, like after culverts, looks like, you know, it comes out real hard and washes out and blows up. And
Yep.
it kind of silts in after that, after it silts
Okay.
back down again.
Okay,
And it looked like on the north side of the gravel road by Paul's that there's maybe a little bit silted in,
mm-hmm,
just right at the culvert there. Other
okay.
than that, I haven't really paid that close attention.
And I guess Devin, how about on, Hardings there, where it comes into Hardings? Is there anything by the culverts in that area and stuff?
Well, yeah, right now there is perfect water.
Yeah, yeah,
But yeah.
but like when it quit running earlier this summer.
No, I didn't see anything. That was just cleaned out like a year ago.
Oh, no, that's been quite a while ago.
It's been now, huh?
Well, it's 2020, I think.
Yeah, somewhere back in there. Yeah, it's been like 5 years, 4 or 5 years or so.
They were just cussing it yesterday, cause it's still rough in that one corner. No, it looks like it's flowing good yet. You guys see anything?
I just sprayed it the other day and it's so full of water, I can't see anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's what I
Well, it was still backed up for 2 weeks,
Yeah.
all the way.
I guess I didn't
Yeah.
pay that much attention,
Yeah,
cause it comes back through that east corner, don't it?
it'd be the southwest corner it comes in,
Southwest.
Hardings, yep, and then it goes out, back, follows Prairie Road south, and then it goes across their field
Okay,
again.
Yeah. There was so much water in there, I didn't.
I know when the water quit running this summer, in that ditch, the only one time that it did, there was 18 inches of water in the culvert on, just a mile off of the highway. So, yeah, it was held up quite a bit. Yeah, so I don't know, I think the problem is in Paul's, I believe, but I'm not 100% sure. So, anyway.
Larry, is it supposed to be 148.69 by
Right.
chance?
Oh, yes, yep, you're correct. On, section 22, yeah, I guess I didn't even see that. So is there a motion for the clean out for that? On those two projects,
I'll make the motion.
is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, any further discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Okay, now we're gonna back up to the Sauter complaint. Kale, do you wanna, put some of those pictures, the first batch that I sent to you this morning?
Sure, it'll just take me a minute to download them here and then open them up. 1 second.
And Jeff, do you understand what the complaint is about as far as the flooding on Al Sauter's land?
Yeah.
Okay,
Chad.
Jeff Mertz has joined the meeting, and then Chad Weckerly has joined the meeting also.
Wherever.
Okay.
Watch for the cord on the floor. Watch for the cord, Chad.
Not in front of the TV.
Yeah.
Just cause you got a club foot, Chad, they pick on you.
Yeah.
Just grab a chair, guys, and then we'll get you here pretty quick here.
This would be, let's see, that's the second batch, I believe I sent to you, wasn't it?
So are you talking about the ones from this morning or from a month ago?
This morning, I sent you 2 batches. It would be the first batch.
I don't think I got the first batch I got. Here's the first one I got.
Maybe they all came together.
Wouldn't just bit of a field, I mean,
What's that?
if it's the ones I sent you, just because.
Okay, yep, there you go. That's one of them. There was 4 of them in there, wasn't there, Brian?
Yeah, 4 or 5, something like that, yeah.
That was the first one. Here's the second one.
Oh, wait a minute. No, I only got one from you. Yeah, that's the only one that came through. Okay, just go back to your that first one.
These.
That first
no.
one? Okay.
No. Yeah,
I mean, to do justice to it, you'd really need a drone if you really wanted to get serious about what, you know, but that's such a massive water flood area that.
I think, if I could interject something, if
You bet.
you back up in I looked on Google Earth, and they don't have, in 2022, on the south side of our ground up in the foothills, there's wildlife up there. There was a foul, Matheson Dam put in way back when that wildlife controlled. They took that out. Now, I don't know the exact year. I thought maybe I could find it with Google Earth and going back to the slides. But as of 2022, it was still there. But they took that dam completely out, which held all that water coming from the south, and it sort of acted as a buffer.
Mm-hmm.
And once they took that out, then that water goes through my pasture in about 2 different spots. There's, big ravines that are cut out. And then I think part of that Crystal Lake project, there's 2 feeders or 2 waterways that were put in. And I had to clean those out and put the dirt, rebuild them basically, because the water kept going over. And then along the road to where our pump sits on 13th, I had to clean that ditch out, and I put probably a 4-foot embankment up so that the water comes down and then goes through those culverts to the north on Allen's side of that ditch.
I'm gonna stop you for a second. Kale, can you bring up a Google Earth satellite imagery photo, please,
Yep, you bet.
of this area? We'll have you kind of point out
Okay.
the work that you did there.
I just thought, but I mean, it's just flat. I mean, this is just.
Okay.
He's not flooding on it, it's a ditch.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But I mean, I can send that to you, so there's the road. Jeff's ground right over here. And
Okay.
so it's coming in, it's getting into the ditch, it's just.
Okay, it didn't take all 5 of them. That's why. Okay, that's my fault. Okay. And I think to explain it, I think this will work actually very quite well. Do you want to zoom in on the location of where we're talking about, Cal?
Yeah, so this is the Sauter property. This is the Mertz property, and this is the Waterboard Fleet property. So Jeff, you're talking about something down here on your property,
Yeah, on
correct?
31, if you go to the south, maybe like right up in here,
Watch the cord.
here's that dam there I was talking about.
Okay.
They took that out, and that used to have an overflow culvert, and the wildlife, they just pulled it out. I imagine there was some erosion, they were worried about it breaking,
Sure.
but that used to hold a lot of water that came back from further south.
Okay.
So all that, then you can see there's a split there, it almost looks like an upside down Y.
Mm-hmm.
I've had to fix
You're talking
basically.
section 34 now, correct? Actually, just go up and point out what you're talking about.
Okay, so basically here, I came in and I fixed this here drain or waterway that goes all the way down. And then, as you can see here, it got flooded out also, even with the pump. Because that pump was put in at 2013 or 2014. And so then I basically cleaned this here out, took sediment and dirt from my ground and built this up along the road so that the water, because what was happening is the water would come here, it couldn't get out along this road where the water goes and then it goes out. So I built that up along the road. I tried to cut these cattails in here a couple times, to help the flow of water, and they were just so thick you couldn't do anything with them.
Uh-huh. Okay.
And then actually, I used to farm part of that ground, I think it was in 07 to 2012, I think is my last contract. So we used to farm part of that. It used to be in alfalfa, and so we had big rain events in 2009,
Mm-hmm.
and
11.
then 13,
11, 13.
because I think that's when we put the tile in is 13 or 14.
Okay.
And there's only about 80 acres of tile on there, the bottom ground.
Yeah, when we looked at it on Google Earth, last meeting, we estimated, I think it was about 45 acres, something like that.
But it goes over, the tile crosses that ravine and goes over into that other side.
Okay,
To the west.
okay. Okay, and Al's is the southeast quarter, correct?
Yep.
Alrighty. Your guys' idea, what would help the problem in that quarter? Would a clean out along that road make a difference?
It would start, I mean, it would help alleviate some of it, because right now, when the water flows, I've never seen, in that corner, there's two big 36-inch culverts,
Mm-hmm.
and I've never seen the water go over the road until they took out
The dam.
the dam. Now all that water comes with such force, and so then it doesn't even have a chance to stay in the creek, that creek bottom.
Mm-hmm.
To what Jeff is saying, if you go way up the hill to 11th Street, which is just off the bottom of your map,
Mm-hmm.
slightly here, in the month of June, there are 3 places on 11th Street where the water went over the top of the road
Mhm.
and has washed the gravel off. I mean, there's been such a force from such a far distance away
Mhm.
coming, and then you say, without any kind of, they had a reserve, they took that out. So when it's at the point you got an overpowering force taking out township roads,
Mhm.
which,
And I would assume there's, in that location, there's quite a bit of elevation drop.
lots.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's where the problem comes.
That's,
Yeah.
yeah.
Hey, was that called the Leander Dam?
Yeah,
That's what it was called, what?
Leander Fall put it in. I
Okay,
used to
okay.
pasture up there.
Okay.
Why
So
did the
took it
wildlife
out?
take it out?
What's that?
Why did the wildlife take it out?
I think they were concerned that, it was pretty old, and there was some washing going out, cause they had a culvert, you know, the dam was there, and then
Yep.
the overflow culvert, but I think that was starting to wash.
My goodness, I mean, that was a
Who
project.
took
back
it
then.
out?
The wildlife did.
Oh, okay, okay.
And I don't know if that would have been a state inspected one, but if it's state inspected and it gets in too tough a shape, the state makes you take them out.
Oh, I just, it didn't make any sense to me, because it was, like you say, it drew from a long ways, it was a
Mhm.
deep one. It was, it was the best thing that happened there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And when it was put in, that must have been quite an undertaking at that time.
Mm-hmm.
It was a
Okay.
big project to take out.
Right.
Wasn't there a dam over in that area also in '93 with all the flooding that broke? Yeah, you'd be too young to remember that. How about you? Do you remember that? Okay. I remember hearing something about that.
Yeah, there was one up there, cause it took all the roads out then.
Yeah. And it went over, even over in our area, it went over a lot of the, the bridges and stuff as well, when that failed that time. But
then there's so much water that comes from the east through Chad's.
mhm.
Well, on 12th Street, the waters ran over the top of the road coming onto my property twice in the month of June, just like it
Mhm.
went 3 places on 11th Street.
Mhm.
And but into a watershed area that big, it'd be pretty hard to point the finger at any one person.
Oh, yeah.
Chad's got his ground tiled, and he even seeded some of it down to grass, cause you just can't, no amount of tile, nothing can overcome that kind of water coming through that whole area. I mean, how many acres comes into there?
Well,
It's huge.
I replanted 120 acres of my sunflowers on the flats to soybeans because they drowned out, only to watch my soybeans drowned out in the next 3-inch rainfall.
Yeah.
But I think, you know, to alleviate some of that problem, if that ditch was cleaned out, that would help. You know, like I could spray, I don't know what you spray on, cattails, rodeo or something like that, that you can spray on. You know, if a guy got that ditch clean, kept that clean, but then I think you need to go further and come across on the backside of Alan's land and mine, yours.
Would you go up and point that out on the map?
Well, in that area, a foot of silt can hold back hundreds of acres of water.
Oh, sure, yep.
You know, I mean,
That all needs to be an assessed drain.
so I was brought up to this board a few years back in a different complaint. And I bought 200 acres of pasture in there. Jeff, you wanna kind of flag that out?
Yeah, okay, so you're over here, right?
Yep, I'm right there. I've got that L-shaped field there now. Yep, right there's the top of it.
That water comes down here.
And so like I bought that to clean that drain, because that drain being plugged up there is holding water back on Chad and I, because then the culverts can't clean out on the other side of the highway. And actually, back when the land that we have, Alois Wertner owned it.
Mm-hmm.
And when the highway project got done, when was that, like 89 or 90? I remember going up through it in swimming lessons. But Alois Wertner, of course, being an attorney, didn't cost him money but his time to send letters. He had been sending letters to the state DOT about not getting that culvert in at the right depth, which is the case because the culverts between Chad and I under 13th Street have got to be half, I mean, they're 36-inch culverts. They've got to be half full before the water will run out of Chad's side across the highway, which is what sort of holds things back and dams things up on my own, which only helps Alan's property here. It just, it forces more ground out in ours because it'll only go under the highway so fast. But that ditch is also a problem because it kind of keeps the culvert working right from coming off of Chad's.
So yeah, it just, you know, if this was cleaned out, and it would take an excavator, I'm sure now.
That's,
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
But, you know, then it goes here and then goes up, and
Yeah,
I
it's
think
the
it goes underneath, Shales Farm, doesn't it?
How far to the west would you have to go if you ever wanted to get that?
Enough drop.
Yeah, to get enough drop to where that area would maybe clean out a lot better.
Never surveyed it.
I mean, I'm just not familiar how far back that area goes before there gets to be
Well,
some
it's not
drop.
that far west, but then it goes north.
Yeah, it goes north.
Does it flatten out as it goes north again?
Yeah.
Okay.
Cause you can only do so much at this end if the problem is downstream. I mean, it doesn't pay
No,
to do a bunch of work up here if you're not gonna do it
No,
down there.
I agree,
Yeah.
I agree.
You know,
Would it help if a person was spraying this area with a drone to kill the cattails? What are your thoughts with that? In our drains, it helps immensely.
If you got the sediment out to start with,
Then it would.
but, you know, I know on our ground up there to keep the drains cleaning out, you've gotta be up there routinely with a scraper.
Mhm.
I mean, you drive across it with a sprayer, you leave a rut.
Yeah.
Boom, you know, 6 inches means an awful lot.
Yeah,
And so you've got a mismanagement of drains that really, from a long time back.
And I don't know, when they did that Wells, or, Crystal Lake drain, that assessed drain, they obviously had to get permission for that water to run down that road from the township supervisors, I would assume. And, cause I had to get permission to do that drain down that road from the township
Mhm.
also.
okay. So I guess my question to you guys, are you willing to get together and at least spray it to kill the cattails so you can do something with it later? How many individuals do you think are involved with this? Chad, you are in there, Chad, you are in there, Jeff, you're in there.
James.
Who farms yours land, Al?
John Stolber does now,
John
but
Stover.
he hasn't been able to do anything for the last 3 years.
Yeah, I realize that.
Monty
And I don't think I should have to spend any money doing anything there. I didn't cause it. It's been that way for when my grandfather died.
Now we got a
So,
problem.
that's the only reason I own that land, and I know that the taxes are high, that taxed at the rate of the county, rate, which is a high productive land, but that's not high productive. So that's not your problem, but I didn't buy it. I only bought it because it's my grandfather started it.
Mm-hmm.
That's all that's left. I grew up on that farm below where Mertz owned the farm that I lived on, was born on. So, but I didn't cause any of this, and I'm not saying, but I don't want to spend one penny on that.
Now, Mother Nature is the reason that we have the problem, and obviously Mother Nature's not gonna help pay for it, but, so I don't know, we're kind of at an impasse, obviously something has to be done with it to help it out, but,
Well, something would have to be done with the whole James River. It's beyond me too. People are complaining downstream from me. So it's not only, we can open it up, but downstream, the Mississippi Delta will be stuck with all of it. We'll keep cleaning it out. But anyway, that's the holdup. I mean, even if we clean out my ditch, it's still not going to go away because you can, like say, if I tried to tile my land, where would the water, if someone made the remark that Cindy Schreiber Beck, the state rep, she thought that the whole Red River Valley should be tiled. Then when you think about that, I've lived here a long time, that the Red River Valley is full of water from 10 miles either side. So where would you pump all that water if you were to tile the whole? She thought the Red River Valley should be tiled. See, that's kind of what we got going on. There's too much water with no flow. I mean, something has to be done downstream, and I don't know whose responsibility that is, but does any, am I saying, I'm not an expert at this, so maybe I'm saying it wrong, but I hear some of the things, like over there on Highway 3, those culverts and stuff, that's all being held up, but I didn't realize that Leander Dam, I know he donated the land to someone, the state of North Dakota, I guess, but I didn't realize it was empty.
yeah, and that makes a huge
So
difference.
I'm all ears, I'm listening.
I would welcome a drainage district to be voted in. Short of a drainage district being voted in for that drain, there's no solution.
There isn't.
Obviously, that's part of Crystal Lake. I suppose what we should do is just get out a map. How big is that Crystal Lake drain? It's not very large, but, do you know you guys know what land is in that Crystal Lake drain?
I think Ronnie Falls land is, the stuff James bought. Klein Saucer has a half there of, that was Paul Schmidt's. We farmed Wesley Falls, part of that was in there, I believe.
Are we still all together?
Yeah, we're still here.
Hello? Oh,
Yeah.
okay, got quiet, I thought. I work with cell phones. Do we lose each other all?
So wouldn't it affect every area that where water comes down into this? It wouldn't just be Crystal Lake.
Right.
I mean, this would involve Delger, all these townships,
Yes.
whoever contributes, and so per acre, I think it'd be that,
Yes.
per acre for everybody, if you had, for the huge area that is, and an assessed drain.
And it'd be simple enough to find out how large that watershed area is.
It
Our
would be a
engineers can do that
major
relatively
asset to
quickly.
anybody farming in the area to have
Yeah.
one. Yes.
So,
You run the district all the way to the river?
what's that?
You run the district all the way to the river?
I suppose, yeah.
How do you determine if the river can handle it, the improvement? Who determines that?
The state
The state?
does, yeah. The Department of Water Resources would determine.
Yeah, if the district were to be voted in, we'd have to get a surface drain permit, and the state regulates that. The appointed engineer would have to show what the quantity of water is and whether or not it would flood or adversely affect downstream lands. And then the state would review that work before granting the permit, before anything got constructed. And just so everybody knows, because it's relatively new, the State Water Commission did just increase the cost share funding for assessment drains. It was at 45% of eligible cost, now it's at 60%. State pays 60% of the cost of that project.
That water would have to cross Old 52.
Mhm.
That's the one that gets underwater a lot of times.
Right.
I gotta go to commissioner meeting.
Thanks for coming.
Yep, but I just, that Old 52 one, usually every spring.
Yep.
Because that comes from back around.
Right by
past
Shales,
Joey
correct?
Fowles,
Right.
Past Joey Fowles around there by Dennis Fowles and works its way right there. I don't know, it flattens out after it gets across 52 again, doesn't it?
Yeah, some.
Yeah, because it all flattens out through there.
Well, he goes over the roads later on too, I mean.
Right,
Yeah,
right,
all the
right.
way along.
When the highway's under. the
Yeah,
ones
yeah,
further
exactly,
on.
yep, that just goes right down the line. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Brian.
Thanks,
Yep.
Brian.
Yeah, yeah. But, well,
Larry, can I just mention something?
yep, go ahead.
Because this is relatively new policy and process for the district, and I think it's a good one. But the board, when a complaint like this gets filed, like Mr. Sauter's complaint, the board first hears from the complainant and then invites all the parties. If it can't find common ground to resolve a complaint like this, then the board needs to have its engineer investigate and then has to make a decision on the complaint.
Yep.
But on non-complying drain complaints, the board doesn't look at, what's the impact to Mr. Sauter's land. The statute just limits the board to say, is there drainage on these two properties referenced that doesn't have a permit but required a permit at the time? And if it does have a permit, then the complaint's dismissed, even if there is downstream impact. That's not relevant to this complaint. If it required a permit but doesn't have one, then the board orders that landowner to either get a permit or close the drain. And when it comes to tile systems, the statute says the permits have to be granted. So, Mr. Sauter, you had mentioned, I don't want to spend a dime here, but I just would encourage you to reconsider, because the likely outcome of a complaint like this is, even if there is a tile system that's unpermitted, it probably will just get permitted. And it doesn't put you in any different of a position as far as, using the Water Resource District administrative process. So the point of this meeting was to see if there's any chance for the three of you to work together, because that often is cheaper than litigation. I don't know that the administrative process is necessarily going to give you the relief you're hoping for here.
Yeah, I understand, but
Okay.
someday I'm joking now, but someday you guys will all want that water back when we have a drought, so I'm kidding, but, yeah, whatever it takes, I'm not trying to be, it's just that, like I said, I didn't do it, I didn't cause it, I know it was productive land, I grew up there. So, in the 30s, yeah, everybody wanted that property along that river. So, to make hay, if nothing else, rather than feed their cows thistles, which most of people had at that time, but anyway, but now it just seems like it's a little overwhelming. I know
Well,
that it's always been lowland and it's always been wet, but this is pretty bad.
okay, well, we found out the reason why, when the wildlife took out the dam, that made a huge impact. So, Al, I'm gonna ask you this question. Are you willing to withdraw your complaint and allow us some time to work with this?
Yeah, sure. So long as I got some, this all come on me quickly. I didn't know about tiling. I saw it, but I didn't realize what it would do and all that. So, sure, I'd be interested in doing that. I want to get along.
Okay,
So,
okay, so, if you don't mind, write out a statement and email it to Tammy stating that you're gonna withdraw the complaint for now. And we will just do some more investigating on it and see what we can do. moving forward.
So what are you saying right now for everybody? What's your thinking? What would be what would it take to fix this problem?
Well, that's what
Just everyone's
we
opinion.
need to find that out. You know, whether it's a legal drain or if it's just a matter of doing some cleanouts, spraying cattails, we just need to do some more investigation.
Yeah, like a committee, like governments do, right?
We try to operate a little more efficiently than the government does.
Yeah, that never goes very far when you do all those committees and investigations and stuff, but hopefully it will, but I could do that, I would withdraw that, but, you know,
Okay.
just, maybe it should, come up with, like spraying those, you guys got the equipment, wouldn't take you much to go down and spray those cattails out there, on both sides of that gravel road running north and south there, both sides, of that ditch, that whole area is full of cattails, so there's not a lot of water movement there, but maybe that would help.
Actually, we use drones to spray. We hire a local contractor that comes in and sprays out the drains and things for us. And, you know, that's something that we can talk about, and kind of go from there. You know, obviously.
Yeah, I just had that, my quarter was just sprayed by a drone because it's too wet to get in there, but
Mhm.
I guess you'd go a little further beyond or something then, right?
But I will let you know this, Al, that we can't pay for that because it's not in an assessed drain. You know, if there's something in Crystal Lake Drain that needs to be sprayed, we can do that. But anything outside of the assessed drain, we can't pay for. So that would have to be a group effort amongst the parties that are involved with this.
Yeah, so are they willing to, help at all with it or do it maybe, or what?
Well, that's something we need to figure out. You know, we'll take a look at what we think is possibility of working and then kind of go from there.
Yeah, aerial sprayed most of the land that Hurdsfield have and Weckerly's have in my time back in the 70s and 80s, so I sprayed that area. I did that for quite a few years like everyone else, but I was doing other things too, but some kind of a warehouse spraying works, but anyway, now it's a lot of ground sprayers, but I don't know, tell me, but I don't wanna just give up the complaint and say, God, you can really have at it now either, so, cause I still live there, right? So, anyway, but I'd be willing to, withdraw the complaint if,
Okay.
you guys could help out the.
I wanna be clear. The only money I'm willing to pledge is towards the engineering for the creation of a new drainage district. Otherwise, I'm throwing good money at bad. But just like our family did with the Hurdsfield drain project, I would pledge money if there's enough interest on downstream landowners to get a district like this drain needs for a permanent solution.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
where
This is Weckerly speaking, Ollie,
Yeah.
That's correct,
right?
that's
Yeah.
correct.
Okay.
Yeah, that sounds good to me.
Well, I tell you what, probably what we'll have our engineer do is just take a look at how large the watershed area is, and then we will notify you at our next meeting when we're gonna have that, so you can either attend in person or by Zoom like you are today. And is that something, Thomas, that you'd be able to have an idea, have one of your interns, summer interns or something, take a look at?
Yeah, we can get a watershed area, for that and report on that at next meeting.
Okay, that'll be step one. Alrighty, thanks, Al.
Okay, you bet, we'll talk later, so yeah, anytime I'll get that to you.
Okay, sounds good, thank you.
Okay, you bet, thanks you guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay. We'll see where it goes from here. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having us.
No problem. So who did you kick, Chad?
Oh, I got my big toe fused.
Ooh.
Yeah,
Oh, tell them the truth, you got mad and hit the door.
I talked wrong to my wife.
You guys wanna come up and have a seat, we'll take care of you guys' stuff right away. Kale, can you pull up a map of the golf course in Fessenden? That'd be in
You bet.
Oshkosh Township.